Okay, there it is. Hey everyone, welcome to Live at 5. It's Casey here. You guys might notice that I am not using my screen. That is on purpose. I'm actually out sick today, but I'm feeling all right. But as I was telling Lindsay, I promise none of y'all need to see what I look like today. I've been hanging around the house, been blowing my nose, taking meds. So we're not looking 100. That's okay though. But I'm here and excited to get us started. Wanted to say right off the bat that we are going to be doing our drawing tonight for, hey Sunny, we are going to be doing our drawing tonight for the prize. We are doing, there's Bree, hey Bree. I need a reminder what the prize is going to be. I'll check on that for you guys right now. We're going to be doing that instead of before the class, we're going to do it after. So you guys stay tuned. We're going to do that drawing because I think we have more people towards the end of the live rather than at the very beginning. So we're going to do that drawing for the prize at the end. Again, I'm going to get a reminder of what the prize is this time. But yeah, if you guys are here, check in and say, hey, I've got Sunny and Bree with us, which is awesome. But yeah, we started a little bit late. Again, like I said, I'm homesick. I had to use a different computer, so I was having some issues with it. But we're here and we will get rolling in just a minute. Alrighty. I hope you are here with us. It is 5:14. If you're just now here, I want to say hey. Again, not using my camera tonight because I'm at home sick, but it's all good. And we will go ahead and get started. Towards the end of the live tonight, we're going to do the wheel. We've got all your names on it, and we're going to be drawing for the prize for this month. So without further ado, Lindsay, I will let you take it away.
Thanks, Casey. Can you see the home screen where it says insurance policies?
Yes, I sure can.
Awesome. All right, so that's what we're talking about. Our insurance. So actually wraps up our finance series. So after this, we'll have another guest speaker next week, and then we'll be back really more focused on emotional intelligence, EQ, social skills after our finance series. So if you have any lingering finance questions, tonight is the night to ask. You can drop those in the chat like always, and we will, we've got Josh here that can chat back, or we can answer your questions at the end. Yeah, okay, so one thing to know like about insurance is you might be like, okay, basically I'm paying money and not necessarily seeing anything from that. And so a lot of people just don't have the extra cash on hand to be able to support insurance. But and then it can be confusing too, because a lot of different options out there, a lot of different types of insurance. Even within like health insurance, one category, there are kind of different options. So we're going to try and do our best to simplify insurance tonight, but really insurance just protects you against a risk. So you're going to pay thinking that you're going to encounter some risk in the future. And you might get your policy bigger or smaller depending on how much risk you anticipate or you think is going to happen. And then you pay more of a premium the more risk you think you want to cover, right? And then in return, if that event happens, then in exchange for your monthly premiums, then you will get a payout. for your financial losses. And then some insurance policies are required by law or some other authority. But for the most part, insurance is voluntary. And it's usually, if you can afford it, there's a ton of different options that you can take advantage of. If you do find yourself in a position where you might want to take on an insurance policy, these are really the top 5 that we would recommend. There's more than this, but definitely auto insurance if you have a car. The reason why we put auto insurance at the top of the list is because it is required by law. Here in Arkansas, you have to have minimum liability car insurance or auto insurance. There's also life insurance. And I know that might seem crazy to think about life insurance when you're 20 years old, but definitely by the time you're 30, you really want to get serious about life insurance. And we'll talk about reasons why that might be. There's homeowners or renters insurance. Some landlords require renters insurance. Most banks pretty much require you to have homeowners insurance to cover the amount that you've borrowed as part of your mortgage. There's also health insurance. This cost keeps going up. We know that. But because the costs keep going up, it's usually a good idea to have some form of health insurance. And there's also disability insurance, and that could be short-term or long-term disability. It really pretty much just covers your living expenses while you're unable to work. Okay, so this is car insurance, auto insurance. This is what's required in Arkansas. So in Arkansas, you need to have $25,000 coverage for bodily injury or death if one person caused by the driver of that vehicle. $50,000 for total bodily injury or death. $25,000 for property damage. So this is the minimum liability coverage. Now, if you need to use your insurance because there is an accident, you are covered as the insured person, or your family member is typically covered, or if you've allowed someone else to use your car, you're usually covered, or a rental car. You're probably going to get covered if you rent a car. Now, a lot of rental companies want you to purchase insurance or coverage in addition. It's usually not necessary if you're covered by your normal auto insurance. It's about $100 a month on average in the US, and that really depends on where you are located. Some urban environments are more prone to accidents. Arkansas is not really densely populated, so our rates tend to be lower than a lot of other cities. Your age matters. Your gender also matters. If you're married, you usually get a break. Just like that's pretty much true for a lot of taxes and insurance and things like that. You normally get a break if you're married. Also, your years of driving experience, your driving record, your credit history. Remember, we talked about credit history a few weeks ago and how that can impact things like this, like how much insurance is going to cost you, your vehicle type, the miles that you drive every year, and there's even more cost variables than this. Now, to keep your car insurance costs low, you might choose to get the minimum coverage, which is totally fine. There's also the opportunity to get gap insurance. So gap insurance applies if you're upside down on your loan, meaning that you owe more than what the car is actually worth. And so the gap basically covers that gap. So basically, if you total your car or if it's stolen and you owe more than what it's worth, then the gap coverage basically covers that gap between how much the car is worth and how much you owe on your loan. What else? Oh, and then you can also keep your insurance premiums lower if you go with like an Esurance or some other like web-based insurance company. And the reason is because that they don't have to pay for people in offices and buildings and electricity if they're working, online. So a web-hosted insurance agency is often going to have lower rates than like a brick and mortar operation because they have less expenses. Okay, life insurance. This is probably the most important policy that you will ever purchase because it protects the people who depend on you. If you are living in a house with other people, you have a life partner, you're engaged, you're married, you have kids, you're taking care of some aging parents, or you have anyone else that's counting on you and your income. And if you are signed as a co-signer with debt on a mortgage or medical bills or student loans, somebody asked me during our debt discussion, if someone dies that you're related to, do you have to pay off their debt? The answer is no, unless you co-signed with them. And life insurance is a great way to say, okay, the person who I co-signed with has died, and now we have a shared debt. Well, life insurance can offset that. Or if you are like an owner or a major contributor in a small business operation, so if you were to die, then maybe that would significantly impact the business. That might be another reason that you might want to get life insurance. Or if you don't have enough money, your family doesn't have enough money to pay for your funeral costs, and it's anywhere between $7,000 to $10,000. Now, the really great news about life insurance is that it's pretty reasonably priced. So even 20 years old, you might not ever think that you will need it, or maybe not for a long time. That's totally fair. If you don't have any dependents in your life, no one's relying on your income, you might have time, right? You don't have a lot of debt. You probably don't need life insurance. But as you start to take on debt, you have a family, you have dependents, that's going to change. And so you can get fixed versus term. So look, when you're 30 years old, you decide you want to get life insurance. A lot of companies, by the way, a lot of employers pay for life insurance to some extent. And then you can also do shared life insurance, you'll contribute to that policy. But let's say you want to get a fixed term. Well, fixed term basically means that you have life insurance for a fixed amount of time. So maybe you're 30 years old and you want to get a 30-year term. That means that your life insurance covers you until you're 60 years old. That means if you were to die between 30 and 60 years old, something were to happen to you, then your life insurance would take care of your debt and pay out some of your funeral expenses and help your family recover during that time. Yeah, and then if you wanted fixed, that means that it never expires. But it's a pretty big difference, as you can see. So $7 to $25 for a term. Terms are anywhere between like 10, 30 years, somewhere in there. You can do like a 20-year term. But fixed does not expire. It is more expensive because it never expires. It's for your whole life. And typically with a fixed term, you can draw money out of it. It's almost like a partial savings. Not all of them are like that. And if they are like that, that might be penalties. Now, the thing about life insurance is that when you're younger, it doesn't cost as much, right? There's not as much risk of you dying. Your gender has an effect, your health history, your family's health history, if that's available. If you're a tobacco user, some of your hobbies, so if you're like a skydiver, you might need life insurance. Your occupation, so if you work on electrical lines, you might think about life insurance. It's a pretty dangerous job, and there's other factors too. So here's an idea of like how that changes. So here's a 20-year term life insurance policy for a female. So when you're 25 years old, you want $100,000 coverage, it's $8 a month. 25 years old and you want $1 million coverage, that's $24 a month. And so that means between the time that you're 25 plus 20 years, so 45, $1 million. If you were to die between the ages of 25 and 45, your family would get paid out $1 million. And all you would do is pay that $24 a month. You can see how the rates change. They obviously get much higher the older that you get. There's also homeowners and renters insurance. So homeowner coverage, that ranges between $150,000 or $500,000 in coverage. And that's pretty much your property. So not necessarily everything inside of it, but your actual physical structure. Renters insurance is kind of the opposite of that. So if you live in an apartment, for example, the apartment complex has property insurance for the building and the grounds. But what they don't cover is everything inside that belongs to you as the renter. And so you might want to get personal property insurance or personal liability insurance to cover your things. Or if for whatever reason you feel a threat or there's a flood, or there's some reason that you have to evacuate your apartment and stay in a hotel or some other housing, there's this end of use, which would cover 40% of your coverage. And basically to take care of like your hotel expenses while you're waiting to move back into your apartment. So what's covered is, yeah, like I said, the personal property in your home for renter's insurance. Also damage from fire, smoke, lightning, wind, hail, so any sort of storm, weather event, flood damage. This one's isolated and usually paid separately. Usually flood damage is kind of its own thing, and it only applies really to people that are not high risk flood zone. And then some home owners have to have flood insurance. Their bank requires them to have flood insurance if they're in a certain flood zone. And then also vandalism or theft. So if you anticipate that your home might be vandalized or someone might break in, and then you might want to have some renter's insurance. The average cost for homeowners insurance is about $200 a month. The average cost for renter's insurance is very affordable. Some cases it's even $5 a month, but $10 a month is the average. The cost variables are how much you want to cover, your personal budget. So, you know, if you only have $5 to cover a renter's insurance, then that's okay. Location, so where you're located is probably going to factor in on how much coverage you want, and then how much your stuff is worth, right? So, like, if you got some pretty expensive things in your home, then you might want to get higher coverage. There's also health insurance. Yeah, so over 500,000 Americans enter into bankruptcy every year because of medical expenses. It really just takes one trip, one emergency to the hospital, and that could create a mountain of medical bills that puts you in bankruptcy. Now, if you're looking to get health insurance, it is expensive, right? I show you here, average for an individual is $440 a month. The average for a family is about $1,100 a month. That's a significant investment. So it's just something to consider. You might think about your age, your health history. If you use tobacco, you can look at different types of plans. But one that we recommend is this high deductible plan. The reason why we recommend the high deductible plan is because you're going to pay less each month. That's your premium. You're going to pay less each month, so it'll drive down your monthly cost, but you will have to pay a higher deductible. So if something were to happen, you have more at the brunt of the upfront cost. But once you're over your deductible, then everything else is covered under that policy. And then also you can couple your high deductible with the health savings account. And that means that it's basically a tax advantage savings account dedicated to your medical bills. So you're putting money into this account every month. Whenever you draw from it, it's usually tax-free, which is great. That's not true for a lot of other policies. You can include dental and vision, but you don't have to. And then you can also get like a tax deduction. The average tax deduction for a health savings account is $3,400 for an individual. And again, this is just a savings account, tax-free for medical expenses. There's also disability insurance, short-term disability and long-term disability. Again, this might not be something that you're really thinking about at 20 years old, but 1 in 4 people become disabled before they retire. And if you were to become disabled, either short-term or long-term, Social Security disability insurance is likely to pay you for having to miss work, but that's really limited on average to about $1,000 a month. So you have to ask yourself, is $1,000 a month, if I were to become disabled, is that enough to support you or your home or your family? Are you the breadwinner? How is that going to impact your expenses? And then also there's usually a 30-day waiting period. So even if you do get Social Security disability, you're usually waiting some amount of time while your medical bills or anything else is piling up in your rent and your groceries and everything else. So just make sure that maybe if you can't afford to wait those 30 days, you at least have an emergency fund to take care of those expenses while you're waiting. And it kind of ranges on what's covered under your disability. Broken bones, other significant injuries, burns, things like that, That would be covered prolonged sickness, including like chemotherapy or some other treatment, and childbirth. Those are all covered under the disability typically. The average cost can range for short term, $25 a month. If you need a longer term policy, then it might be $500 a month. Usually short term is 6 months or less. But short term can also be up to 2 years in rare cases. If it's going to be longer than that, so several years, then you really need long-term disability. And then some other insurance types to consider, personal property, and this is a little bit different than the renter's personal property. This might cover one specific item. So your jewelry, if you have an engagement ring, or some other like a family heirloom, a really special guitar or piano or something like that, you might want to have a personal property insurance policy for that item. And those are usually pretty reasonable, like $10 or less a month, depending on how much you're trying to cover. You can also get identity theft, which protects you against cybercrime and identity fraud. This is usually good if you are using something other than like a big credit card, because remember we talked about credit card companies typically have identity theft protection. Most of them do. But if yours doesn't, or if you're not using one of those credit cards, then you might want to consider protection. This is becoming more and more prevalent, becoming a serious risk. You probably heard of the gas crisis on the East Coast a couple of weeks ago, where Russian hackers got into the convenience stores, the pump line, and basically shut down the fuel supply so people couldn't get gas to their cars. And so and they didn't mean to cause that big of a mess, but that's what happened. They hacked in, they took over the system, it was ransomware, and people couldn't get a gasoline shortage. And that lasted for several days. So if they're susceptible, if our government's susceptible, anyone can be a victim of cybercrime. There's also umbrella insurance. This is just like another layer of protection, but really this is above and beyond homeowners or car insurance. So you want to get those first before you even think about umbrella insurance. You can also get travel insurance. Sometimes when you book a plane ticket, they might want to know if you want to pay an extra few bucks to cover your travel. If you're going overseas, you might consider getting a travel insurance. Sometimes you might get a special health insurance if you're traveling overseas. That's pretty common, especially if you're going to stay for an extended period of time. It's usually not necessary, but it depends on really where you're going and how long you're going to be gone. I never have really used travel insurance on my domestic flights. There are times that I've been out of pocket, but I would say that I'm still probably coming out ahead by how often I travel and haven't really needed to use it. But let's say that you got travel insurance and your flight was delayed, you had to stay overnight at a hotel, your travel insurance might cover that unexpected expense. And then some additional resources if you're interested in learning more and just about insurance policies. Here's some website. Ramsey Solutions comes from Dave Ramsey. He's a well-known Christian-based financial advisor. And he's got a company, and he also has this Ramsey Solutions website. A lot of the information and advice that we put in here came from Dave Ramsey. Also, Lemonade. Lemonade.com is a great company to get renters insurance from, but they also have advice, just general advice about insurance and things to think about. They're the ones that have kind of like reshaped the insurance landscape, because they were saying, you know what, renters insurance shouldn't be that expensive. It could be as low as like $5. And then NicoleLappin.com. Nicole Lappin is like a New York Times bestselling author. She's had a couple different talk shows on like on the news channels and big media. She has her own show called Hatched. She's a financial expert. She gives some really good advice too, so you might want to check out her website. And then Investopedia, I've given you this resource before. They've got a really good glossary on financial terms in general, but Investopedia is another site that you can go learn about insurance. So that covers everything that we had planned. Wanted to turn it over to see what questions we might have in the chat.
Awesome. Thanks, Lindsay. Oh, whoopsie. Let me mute. I think I heard Josh trying to say something.
Josh just said that you brought up Lemonade earlier, so it sounds like you have a good experience with them.
Yes, sorry about that. I think I might be having connectivity issues, but I was happy to hear the Lemonade shout out. Actually, one of my youth that are on here with us tonight has Lemonade, and that was the first time I had ever found out about it. And I found out about it through a referral from the apartment that they live in. And now it's kind of my go-to recommendation because they do such a good job of like walking you through the process, making it as easy as possible and as cheap as possible. I like the brand a lot. I think it's friendly for people that maybe don't have a lot of experience with insurance, myself included for sure. So yeah, I would recommend it. I actually thought about switching over just because it is so affordable, and I would be getting the same coverage I have now, except for like a third of the price. But I am able to bundle, and my family's been with State Farm for a while, so I just stayed with it. But yeah, do we have any questions or comments, guys, about insurance? I'll give you guys a second if you have any questions. We've got someone who wants to do Lemonade, which I love. If any of you are interested in Lemonade, yeah, Bree has it. You were who I was talking about, Bree, but I didn't want to out you in case you didn't want people knowing. But yes, Bree's got it, and I'm a big fan. But if anyone else is interested in Lemonade, their website is lemonade.com, and they walk you through the process. It's pretty easy. But your coach is able to help you too if you're interested in looking on there. Also, just to kind of buy some time in case anyone's got questions or comments, here in just a minute, we are going to spin the wheel to see our winner for the prize this month, which I have found out is a $100 gift card to wherever you want. So this is a really good prize this month. It's basically like getting $100 to wherever you choose. So that's pretty awesome. So we'll do that in just a minute. But for now, do you guys have any questions or comments about insurance? And of course, thanks to you, Lindsay, for helping walk us through that. That was super helpful.
Yeah, happy to.
Okay, so I'm not seeing any questions yet. Again, I know there's a little bit of delay and people are having to type out. So in the meantime, if you guys are down, I might go ahead and spin the wheel because I'm dying to know who's going to win the $100 gift card. I am using a different computer, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to share my screen just fine. So you guys might have to let me know what you guys are seeing. Because I'm really hoping it works. Okay, it's giving me a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Okay, it's looking like it's going. Do you guys see the wheel?
Yep.
Perfect. Alrighty, so if you guys are new, I don't think we've got any newbies tonight. But how this works is you can see this wheel is very big and it's got a bunch of names on it. So for however many times you attended Life Skills in the month of May, that's how many times your name is on this wheel. So some of you, and it's random, it's totally random. Some of you guys are on here twice. We got some people on here 7 times, some people just once. So it is totally random. What I'll do is I'll touch this button here in the middle. It'll say spin. And it's going to randomly pick someone, okay? So drum roll, please. Everyone can do it in their head. I'm not about to imitate one because I can barely breathe out of my nose because I'm sick. So we're just going to go ahead and get this thing going. 3, 2, 1. Oh, it's Shay. Congratulations, Shay. I'm not sure if she is on tonight, but Shay, you are the winner of $100 gift card to wherever you want to go. That is a pretty good prize. So Shay will be reaching out to you to get that going. But yeah, just as a reminder to you guys, the more you attend, the more likely it is that you will get your name drawn. So you guys keep up the good work. We have a lot of regulars on here. And I love that. Okay, I'm gonna just try to figure out how to stop sharing. There we go. And I'm not seeing any questions or comments in the chat, actually. So Lindsay, did you have any closing remarks?
No, I just appreciate everyone for sticking with us through the finance series. We're looking forward to the emotional competence series. So we'll get that kicked off in a couple weeks. So thank you for joining us all these weeks so far. We really appreciate your input and questions and comments.
Yes, absolutely. That is a great reminder. We're going to miss the brackets next week. We're going to give them a much needed break, and we're going to miss you guys though. So next week we're going to have a motivational, inspirational speaker. Her name is Eleanor. She's someone that I've really grown to be a huge fan of, and she, back in the day, we were doing stuff in person. She would come every now and then, so some of you guys might recognize her. But she's going to keep it real and talk to us about what it's, really like to overcome, because she's come from a really hard past and has made the way for herself with the help of some supportive people. So she is a great person to learn from. So you guys look forward to that. We will have Lindsay and Josh back the week after that, and then the following weeks with another break, Eleanor coming back in there. I don't think that made much sense, but I'll figure out a better way to say that next week. But yeah, so I hope you guys stay safe. You guys reach out if you have any questions, and I will catch you guys next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.